Last week I've gone over the sources in the Torah where we find Shabbos, starting with the creation of the world, the Ten Commandments, where we have Zohar Shema Shabbos Lekatche. The Ten Commandments are written twice in the Torah, once in Parshas Yisro, the second time in Parshas Vatzchanan, the first in the book of Exodus, the second one in the book of Deuteronomy. And the first time it says, Zohar Shema Shabbos Lekatche, remember the Shabbos day to keep it holy. And we spoke about that is the source for our Kiddush. Remembering it is by making Kiddush. And then it says, in the second one, it says, Shemor Shema Shabbos Lekatche, guard the Shabbos day to keep it holy. That is not to transgress and do anything that is forbidden to do on Shabbos. So it seems to be a contradiction. It says, Zohar Shema Shabbos Lekatche, remember. That is how the commandment of Shabbos begins. And in Parshas Vatzchanan it says, Shemor Shabbos Lekatche, guard the Shabbos day to keep it holy. So which one was said? Zohar or Shemor? Anyone? Which one is the correct one? We say in the Ten Commandments, the mitzvah of Shabbos is written twice in the Torah. First time it says, Zohar Shema Shabbos Lekatche, remember the Shabbos day to keep it holy. The second time it says, Shemor Shema Shabbos Lekatche, guard the Shabbos day to keep it holy. So what was said? Zohar or Shemor? Both were said. Correct. Both were said simultaneously, which a human being could not do. You heard it both at the same time. And where do we have this now in davening? Those who are familiar with the Friday night davening of Lechadodi. Anyone familiar with the Friday night davening? Zohar v'shamor b'dibur echad. Zohar, to remember and to guard, was said in one utterance. That is what we say every Friday night in Lechadodi. We also had last week, we spoke about the commandments that were specific about not to ignite a fire, not to cook, not to bake, not to carry, not to plow, and not to reap. That is explicitly in the Torah, and the others are part of Halach LaMoshe Sinai, Torah Sheba'al Peh, the oral law that was handed down by Moshe Rabbeinu. In this booklet, we left at page 8, the last page of the booklet. And the underlined we have taken from Isaiah. If you restrain your feet because the Shabbos, of attending to your affairs on your holy day, my holy day. You call it Shabbos delight, and the day made holy by the Lord honored. You will honor it by not following your customary ways, refraining from pursuing your affairs, and speaking profane things. Then you shall be delighted in the Lord, and will make you ride in the high places of the earth, and will nourish you with the heritage of Jacob your father. Thus the mouth of the Lord has spoken. So we have here a few concepts. One of them being that our conduct on Shabbos, even without doing any forbidden works, has to have a certain atmosphere, has to have a certain setting to it, that it is Shabbos, a day that is dedicated to Hashem. And therefore, there are many different details of what we don't do on Shabbos, even though it's not a malacha, even though it's not a forbidden act of the 39 categories, still it's not in the spirit of Shabbos. So we have the laws of Shabbos, then we also have the spirit of Shabbos also applies as well. We also had two concepts, which is called the Shabbos delight. Make it delightful. That would include different foods that are Shabbos foods. Can we have some examples that is traditionally a part of our Shabbos menu? So we have the Kiddush. You'll soon will, okay, having two cooked dishes. Okay. Now we also have the traditional, so we make the Kiddush on wine, We also have the motzi on two challahs. So, where is the source of the two challahs? This comes from the man, the manna that was the food for the Jewish people for the 40 years in the desert was the man. And on Friday they got a double portion. So we have, corresponding to the double portion, for every meal that we eat on Shabbos and Yom Tov, we have two loaves. So the loaves are made in a special way. What do we see here? This particular loaf, what makes it a Shabbos loaf? It's braided. And how many sections do you get from this braiding? 6. So we have now 2 challahs, each one having braidings of 6 sections to it. What is the significance of the 6 plus 6 equal 12? What is the significance of number 12 when it comes to challah? And that is?
Wasn't there the 12 showbread?
That's correct. So our challah corresponds to the showbread that was in the Beis HaMikdash. You will learn later during the year that there were different articles in the Beis HaMikdash, in the temple, and one of them being, it's in Chumash, in Parshas Truma, the different vessels that were made in the Beis HaMikdash, one of them being a table, and on it were 2 arrangements of 6 showbreads that was actually matzah all year round in one arrangement, and then 6 in another arrangement. So corresponding to this, when we eat the challah on Shabbos, it corresponds to the lechem hapanim, to the showbread that was in the Beis HaMikdash. And the showbread in the Beis HaMikdash was the source of sustenance for Jewish people and of all of mankind. That was a source of blessing, and it was a conduit for the blessings of sustenance. So every Shabbos we have the challah that is braided in 6 sections, 2 times, even 12. There are others who make another shape of the challah. Anyone besides the braided challah, there's another shape to challah that is like a football or straight, or the letter Vav. Vav equals, every letter has a numerical value. Aleph is 1, Beis 2, Vav is 6. So each challah, by the shape of it, is like a Vav, number 6. 2 challahs also gives us number 12. So there are different communities that have different shapes of their challah. So even the shape of a challah also has a special significance. Then there are other Shabbos foods. Can anyone tell me? Some call it chamin, and some call it cholent. Okay. So what is the significance of having chamin or cholent? Is anyone familiar with chamin, or those with cholent? What is something that people are familiar with? Cholent. Okay. Cholent is the European name, and chamin is the Sephardic name. So we have 2 names for it, and one should make a point of eating chamin or cholent or something hot on Shabbos. What is the significance of having something hot on Shabbos? Anyone? This is a proclamation that we rely on Torah Shebal Peh. This is a proclamation that we are relying on that which was handed down from Moshe Rabbeinu, that this is the explanation of the Torah. The Torah was given in written form and also in oral form. So by eating cholent, we are declaring that the Torah was given in the oral form as well. How does that do so? How by eating cholent or chamin is that a declaration? Anyone? Okay, so first of all, what is cholent? Cholent, we have the European is the potatoes and beans and meat. That is the European cholent, and And the chamin, the Sephardic one, is also they add different type of spices. They also put in an egg in its shell. But we learned last week that one of the malachas is do not light a fire in all your dwellings on Shabbos. Literally, it means do not have a fire burning on Shabbos. So if you're going to take the literal translation, starting from Friday afternoon, there's going to be no fire burning in your home. And there are those who took this literally, and they did not have any fire burning in their home because they said that's what is written in the 5 books of Moshe, no fire in your home on Shabbos day. However, the Chachamim said the tradition is from Moshe Rabbeinu that it means not to light a fire, but if there is an existing fire from before Shabbos, you could have the benefit of this fire. And therefore, you could light the Shabbos candles. According to the literal translation, there shall not be any Shabbos candles on Friday night. You're having a fire in your house. According to that, you could not have any hot food on Shabbos because how are you going to keep it hot unless you insulate it? But as far as having it on the fire top, which we would call a covered fire, which is we call a blech. Blech is a metal that covers up the fire, so you will know that it is Shabbos. So then, again, this is only according to Torah Sheba'al Peh, according to the oral teachings. And therefore, by eating cholent, we are saying we are relying on the oral teachings of tradition that was handed down, that we are relying on that. When we demonstrate it by having hot food on Shabbos that is being warmed by the fire, that's a declaration that we are trusting Torah Sheba'al Peh, the oral law, explaining to us what the Torah means. So that is another Shabbos dish. Any other Shabbos dish that is traditional fish, okay, has a special significance why we have fish with the meals on Shabbos. According to Kabbalah, it elaborates on this, but in Hebrew, the word for fish is dag. Daled is 4, Gimel is 3, 4 and 3 is 7. So by eating fish, we are remembering the 7th day. There's also a specialty about the fish that during the times of Noach, with the flood, everything was destroyed except for that which was in the ark. What about the fish? With no fish in it, was there a fish tank in the ark saving all the fish? And the answer is no, because nothing happened to the fish, because they did not discard their normal ways. They lived as Hashem had created them in that fashion. Everything else became corrupted. The fish did not corrupt. And therefore, they are on a higher level. On Shabbos, the whole world is on a higher level. And therefore, by our eating, whatever food we eat, there's a choice. Either the food becomes human, or the human becomes whatever they're eating, according to their intention of why they're eating. If you're eating to be healthy, you're able to serve Hashem, then that becomes an elevation. If you're eating on Shabbos, the foods you're eating in the honor of, in the delighting Shabbos, that becomes an elevation. So now the food that we eat becomes human. We've elevated the food. Therefore, these fish themselves are have not been corrupted. There is a special elevation that the fish get for Shabbos. Another food that is traditional, also we have gefilte fish. Those who eat the sliced fish with the bones, those who eat the gefilte fish. Is there any special significance why gefilte fish rather than sliced fish? Anyone? So there is an issue of picking up bones on Shabbos, the unwanted from the wanted. We're going to learn about that one of halachas, halach borer. People might forget, they see a bone, out it goes, oops, Shabbos. In order to avoid that, we have the filter fish, which was deboned and ground and made into fish to be able to be eaten without having the issue of having to remember if you are permitted to take out the bones or not, in what manner. We're going to learn about this when we come to that halacha. Another Shabbos food? Anyone? Okay, that's a part of cholent. Then there's something that is called, with a K, kugel. Anyone with kugel? What's the significance of kugel? Anyone? So traditionally the kugel was a dough pastry that was a dough on the bottom, a dough on top, and the meat filling in the middle. That was the traditional, going back in Shulchan Aruch, going back to hundreds of years. What our kugel today is, potato kugel or lakshan kugel. What it is, what we're looking for is a crust on top, a crust on the bottom, and soft in between. What is that? A crust on top, a crust on the bottom, and soft in between. There we go, man. The man, it says that it had, when the man came down, it was like in a box. There was a layer of protection on the bottom. The man came down, a layer of protection on top, crust on the bottom, crust on the top, and in the middle was the soft man. And therefore, the Shabbos day blesses the rest of the week. The foods that we eat is not just a tradition, it also has an effect. Whatever we do has a spiritual effect. So therefore, eating the kugel on Shabbos also strengthens our connection to the man, the sustenance, godly food for Shabbos day and for the rest of the week as well. So we have, and we're not going to go in there. There's also lakshan in the soup. There's also farfel that also has a special significance. You'll be learning about that in Chassidus, about the different energies that is considered the encompassing level, that is surrounding level, and then there's the line of godliness that comes down straight. We make all of these vessels on Shabbos day for the rest of the week. You'll learn about that with Rabbi Pape. You'll ask him about the lakshan and the farfel. Okay, so we see that excuse me? Shulit is to, because we wanted to be on the fire in order to show that we accept the teachings of the oral Torah that says you are permitted to have a fire on Shabbos as long as you don't light it on Shabbos.
I don't understand why we need children to do that. Like, we leave the lights on.
But going back now, what's the tradition? It's a tradition. I guess it has other significance also, but I'm just going through the basic tradition is because we want the fire. So basically, the reason why in the Sephardic community say cham is something that's hot. So if you would have a hot tea, a hot coffee, that would also cover that as well. But since we also want to have a dish that we're going to eat, so we also, when we know it's cholent, it's reserved for Shabbos.
Okay.
So
Really about eating meat too?
it says that one should, if again, these foods are only if someone actually enjoys it. So having fish and meat, that is traditionally, you should have that for a festive meal. So now, then we have the Kavod Shabbos, the honor of Shabbos is cleaning up the house, putting a tablecloth on the table. Also for the challah, we have the tablecloth on the bottom. We have a covering that we cover the challah with a cover. Again, that's the man in the middle. The cover on the bottom is the tablecloth. The cover on top is the covering. Also, another significance that we're going to be eating the challah after the kiddush, which has its own reasons behind it. So here we have from Isaiah, from Yeshayahu, the prophet telling us about the delight of Shabbos, the honor of Shabbos, and keeping a Shabbos atmosphere in the house. So this is something that you look forward to the Shabbos with different foods. So there are those who have special Shabbos treats, but they don't have it during the week. They leave it for Shabbos, so they will look forward, and when it comes Shabbos, they will enjoy their favorite treats. So Shabbos is something that is delightful, especially when it comes to children. They have to wait all week for this special Shabbos treat. When is Shabbos coming? This is something that they're looking for Shabbos. When are we going to have that special Shabbos treat that they don't have throughout the week? They only have it on Shabbos. So Shabbos is the day that the children for sure are looking forward to because they're going to have their special Shabbos treats. This is also for us, for those who love cholent, to wait all week for the cholent and enjoy the cholent. So this is something that it's a Shabbos atmosphere, a Shabbos tradition, a Shabbos that brings in that special Shabbos feeling. Also, we have special Shabbos clothes. Even if someone is homebound, they could be in their lounge, just wearing ordinary clothes. Still, they too should wear Shabbos clothes because we are honoring the Shabbos by wearing the special Shabbos clothes. Again, we spoke about the special account. Now Hashem says that if you're going to spend for Shabbos Yom Tov and Rosh Chodesh, you're going to have a special account, a different budget. Hashem is going to take care of it through the year. Whatever you spent in the honor of Shabbos, whether it's for food, for clothes, and other articles that are in the honor of Shabbos, Hashem is going to compensate you throughout the year. That was not in the budget for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, but rather its own account. So Hashem says, do that on my account and enjoy the Shabbos, enjoy the Yom Tov, and don't worry about the money. Hashem will take care of that. In Chassidus, it speaks about the significance of clothes. Shabbos clothes brings down our Shabbos energy. It brings holiness into the clothes, whether we see it or not. It is so. So wearing Shabbos clothes on Shabbos, exclusively on Shabbos, has that special. Whenever you put on that clothes, the Shabbos clothes, it opens up a special godly energy, a Shabbos godly energy that comes with the clothes that we're wearing. In Chassidus, it speaks about why do we need clothes altogether, what's the significance of clothes, the Kabbalistic needs of clothes, not sleep or rabbi. The last page, on the back of the back booklet. Yes.
So at the Shabbos clothes, would it not? We should not use it like on Yom Tov.
The Shabbos and Yom Tov goes together,
okay,
but not in the weekdays. Once you make a point of not wearing the Shabbos clothes in the week.
what about for a special sin?
That's Simcha Shal Mitzvah. You're looking for a mitzvah. So, no, yes.
Is there something about not wearing Shabbos shoes during the rest of the week and not wearing the rest of the week shoes?
I have to look into that. About I skipped that chapter. I prepared. So when it came to the shoes, I did not look at that chapter. So I'm happy to get back to you on that now. But it is discussed. So the question, the valid question, is the specialty of Shabbos shoes, a Shabbos hat, what is a Shabbos belt. Those are things that I did not go into. But it's there, and its information is there. I just have to access it. The last page, I brought this in. This is for Yom Tif. So why is it that we do cook on Yom Tif? Where is the source for that? Again, from an existing fire, we have in the last page, in the back of the booklet. First, this speaks about Pesach. First day is a holy day. 7 days a holy day. No work may be performed on them, but what is eaten by any soul, that alone may be performed for you. You are permitted to prepare food that is eaten on Yom Tov, if it's not Shabbos, so that you are allowed to cook. And again, we'll learn about what you are permitted to do on Yom Tov. You're allowed to cook for that day from an existing fire. And we'll leave it for that. Now, Okay, thank you very much. So, number one, where do we have the Torah being taught by a human being? Originally, Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, I'm going to give the Ten Commandments to you. You're the Jewish people who will be able to listen in as I'm giving the Ten Commandments to you. And the Jewish people, Moshe Rabbeinu tells that to the Jewish people, and they say, no, you want to hear directly from Hashem. Hashem says, you want to hear directly from me, then I'm going to do so. The Ten Commandments were given directly to every person, all the souls for all generations, all of us here. Our souls were at Mount Sinai. Our souls were at Mount Sinai, hearing directly from Hashem. That imbued every person who was there, every soul that was there, a godliness that is a part of their very makeup, their very DNA is godly. What about those who were not born Jewish but became Jewish? There's a reason why those people do become Jewish, is because they have a certain sensitivity, because their souls were also at Mount Sinai. When Hashem came to all the nations of the world, he asked them, do you want to have this Torah? And they said no. But not everyone said no. It went according to the majority. Those who said yes. So eventually, they have a certain sensitivity that is different than others, and they do want to become a part of Hashem's. So, when you, so coming here on page 1, take it from Chumash Devarim. You heard a voice from the darkness. The heads of the tribes and elders approached and said, the greatness is too much. We're going to die, because after every utterance, their souls left their bodies. Hashem had to return their souls. If we continue to hear the voice of our God, any longer, this great fire will consume us and we will all die. So they told Moshe Rabbeinu, sentence 24, you should approach God and listen to everything that our God says, and then you will tell us everything that our God tells us. We will listen and obey. So this was again a request of the Jewish people that Moshe Rabbeinu be their spokesman, be their one who's going to represent them. Hashem is going to teach Moshe Rabbeinu, and Moshe Rabbeinu is going to give it over to the Jewish people. Go and say to them, this is sentence 27, go and say to them, return to your tents. Sentence 28, you, however, must remain with me, and I will tell you the entire body of commandments, the super rational commandments, and the rational commandments which you shall teach them so they can observe them in the land which I will give them to possess. So here we have that Moshe Rabbeinu is the one who's going to receive the remainder of the Torah. So it's 613 commandments. The Jewish people heard everyone 10. Then we have another 603 that Moshe Rabbeinu is over. Page 2. Now, this is taken from Parsha Shoftim, and Hashem says that if I want to communicate with you, since not everyone is going to hear direct communication from Hashem, before the sinning of the golden calf, God's presence was in every home. Every home was a miniature Beis Hamikdash. Only after they had the golden calf was the presence of God no longer in every home, and they were to build then a temple, a tabernacle for Hashem. In the desert, it was a traveling Beis Hamikdash, and until it was built, so where was the Shekhinah? Where did Hashem dwell? Wasn't in any home anymore. It wasn't in a tabernacle because it wasn't built yet. So where was the Shekhinah? If Hashem wanted to communicate in Moshe Rabbeinu's tent. His tent was the presence of Hashem. Hashem wanted to communicate with him in his own remain, the temple. And so if Hashem wants to give a message, how are the people going to receive this message? So who was the one in Moshe Rabbeinu's time? It was Moshe. What happens after he passes away? Then what's going to happen? The original plan was that Hashem is going to communicate with everyone individually. He wants to tell them something, he'll tell them. Hashem wanted to communicate with Noah, he spoke to Noah. Hashem wanted to communicate with Abraham, he spoke to Abraham. He spoke to Yaakov, Yitzchak. Hashem communicated. So now they say they don't want it. So now what? So, sentence 5, God your God will establish a prophet like me from among you for your brothers, and you must listen to him. So now we have a new concept which is called a prophet. What is a prophet? Person with whom Hashem communicates. Either communicates with him to give him information that is personal to him, or it's a prophet that is now going to give over Hashem's message. Since Hashem is not speaking to each individual, there is going to be the prophet that's going to be giving over Hashem's message. The Rambam Maimonides gives us the criteria of what to expect of a prophet, how he should conduct himself. He has to first be a person who everyone sees as worthy of prophecy. His character, his piety, his knowledge, all of this is someone who is worthy of being one whom Hashem communicates with. This is what you ask for. This is sentence 4. Sentence, you can see 6. Yeah. So Hashem says, you must listen to him. This is what you asked from God your God at Choreh, that's the Mount Sinai, and the day of assembly, saying, I don't want to hear the voice of God, my God, anymore, or to see the great fire, so I will not die. God said to me, they have spoken well. I will establish for them a prophet like you from among your brothers. I will put my words into his mouth, and he will tell everyone everything that I command him. And then, if anybody does not listen to my word that he speaks in my name, I will punish him with death from heaven. But the prophet intentionally utters a word in my name, which I did not command him to do so, or he spoke in the name of other gods, then the prophet should be put to death. If you will say to yourself, how will we know if the declaration was not said by God? The answer is, this on page 3, sentence 22. If the prophet claims to speak in the name of God, and the thing does not occur, and you see that it will never come about, that's a declaration that God did not say so. The prophet had spoken, will deceive you intentionally, do not be afraid of him. So here we have the idea of a prophet, and we will continue this one more lesson, I guess. So here we have this idea of a prophet, that so what did a prophet, what was the role of a prophet? Whatever you wanted to know from Hashem, you would ask the prophet, and he would answer you. Oh, we have the name of the prophet. Are you familiar with some of the prophets? Isaiah, Shmuel, Yirmiyah, Yeshua, the 70 elders. So you have a number of prophets. You have the 12 prophets. So we have only prophecies that were, for all generations, were recorded. Other than that, there were prophets that you had in the times of the first Beis Hamikdash, you had 1,200,000 prophets with whom Hashem directly communicated. Whether to tell them a message, just to communicate with them. This was the level that they were. Those who were tzaddikim, and those who were righteous people, in the times of from up until the end of the temple, these were people who were worthy of, and Hashem did communicate to them.
Did you say people could ask the prophet something and the prophet would communicate questions to Hashem?
Yes, so we have in Shmuel, Samuel, Shaul's father lost his donkeys. And Shaul goes to search for them, and he cannot find them. So, how are you going to find out where they are? He travels to Shmuel. It says, where are my father's donkeys? Could you tell me where to find them? He says, don't worry about them. They're already home. They're not missing anymore. This is what a prophet would give them information about things, that ordinary things that a person wanted to know, in addition to how to serve God, everything else. They were just asking, you have Elisha. There were ambushes that were set by an attacking army. And Elisha would inform the commanders, don't go in this place because there's an ambush waiting for you. And they were waiting and no one ever went by. Set them in a different place. Each time Elisha would give the information where the enemy is. And finally the enemy found out how they know this, and they went to find Elisha. That's a different story. You'll find that in Tanakh. But anyway, this is something that so we're going to discuss, at what point, what's with today, and where does this all go to? Okay, so I was waiting for the shofar to blow. I guess we still have some time for the shofar. So I will continue. What about a false prophet? Let's look on page 4. If a prophet arises, sentence 2. If a prophet will So you could read a booklet. We're running some of the information. Let me try to. Your name is?
Sorry.
Your name?
Aria.
Ariel. Let me try to get a few. Ariel, okay. Let me try to get one table at a time. Again, your name is, okay, everyone on this table, let me.